Sunday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
I'm Benjamin.
Hi, Taylor.
Hi,
All right.
Taylor.
So, we're talking.
I really hope she listens to any of these.
I hope so. If she's not, this is all for nothing. There's a few Taylors that may be listening. We're not talking to you.
There's only one that matters.
That's right.
Just one.
Just one. Okay, so there can be only one.
She probably is a Highlander.
Oh.
The Highlander.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that they made that joke in Cobra Kai, too.
Oh.
That they said, there's no a Highlander, it's the Highlander.
Did you watch Dexter back in the day?
I did not.
Oh. Do you know who Dexter's villain is in the new season? I did not know this.
The Highlander?
Kurgan.
Shut up.
Yeah. What an excellent villain.
What an impossible challenge.
I know. Man's huge.
Dexter's definitely going down now.
Oh, I know. He'll never make it.
You thought he was going down before.
I'm telling you.
Wow.
So you from last week's
I had
podcast, you had some regrets. You came to me today with.
And honestly, it's because I've done so much musical theater, because we talked about your number one was Star Wars and how it just changed your life and everything else. And honestly, like, musical theater is something that I'm just a big nerd about.
Always have been.
Have been. And I think just as far as musicals go, and a lot of people will disagree with this, but I really got to find a way to put La La Land on my top 5 most impactful movies, because that movie blew me away with how good Emma and Ryan are, and just the long shots and the cinematography and the music. And I just remember the day that I watched that movie, and I cried like for the last half hour. I just blown, like, not from a sad, like this movie's so sad, but just you had talked about the shock and awe of seeing Jurassic Park, and how it's just, it's the kind of movie where you're looking at it eyes wide open, and somehow tears are coming out, because you're just like, there's just so much emotion happening. Yeah. And La La Land did that to me, and I think that changed the game and raised the bar and everything else for musicals. And I couldn't let it sit on my conscience without actually. Well, good. Movie, so I got it off my chest, and I got to watch that movie with Taylor Yakovenko.
Well, there you go. And see, I told you we had time to talk about it on Saturday. Okay. Hey, so this is an idea again from you that came up because we've been
conversation because we were complaining about work, and you were talking about a class.
Well, you were talking about security thing. I was like. And I was like, man, this is so interesting. I said, would you mind if we did a podcast on this? And he said, sure.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to go ahead. You put it into a top 5 though, which was fun.
Well, I mean, I put it into a generalized list. Yeah,
that's fine because we're about the top 5s. But go ahead.
We were talking about one of the classes that you were talking about, and then how people. You said, okay, you have to make a password.
Oh, right.
And then you went through your. You were able to guess people's passwords on the spot, because you were forcing essentially your class that you were teaching at the time to come up with a password. And you said, and here's what I guess your password is, and da-da-da-da. And are you a Saints fan? All right, it's Saints 1, 2, 3, or what's your dog's name? Or what is your kid's name? Or something like that. Or what year was your kid born? And you were able to guess it and what their password was with ease. Or shocked that they were only one character off or something like that. And we talked about how just it's so trivial to find out what people's passwords are when they think that they're being so sly, and they're really not. Like, there's really just one step level of effort being happening here and being made, and it's just a joke. Yeah. So the reason that hacking and cybersecurity and everything else is so prevalent still is because people just don't care until after it happens. Right. And there's just so much low-hanging fruit out there.
It's something you think it could never happen to me.
Can't happen to me.
Yeah.
Right. We all know that car accidents happen every day in big numbers. And we all kind of think, it could never happen to me. I'm a really safe driver. I'm an excellent driver. No one's a bad driver in their own head. Everybody thinks that they're a great driver. When in actuality, you're probably not, because statistically, there's got to be some bad ones out there. And guess what? You're one of them, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. So that's true, though. Everyone thinks they're
a good driver, or they think they've got a really solid password on their hands here, and you could never crack it because there's no way you could ever know what their child's name was, nor would you know what their
birth year was.
They were born. Why? Right?
Or you would never know their favorite team and your favorite player and their jersey number.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
You would never guess something like that, nor would you ever guess that the first letter would be capitalized. And here's the real kicker. I put an exclamation point at the end of it.
Yeah. That's my special character that you'll never guess.
Special character you will never guess.
Yeah.
So
and it's always at the end.
Let me give you a secret there. Every password cracker known to man puts that's the guess. That's the first thing the computer does. It puts an exclamation point at the end, and it puts a capitalized letter at the very beginning in it. And it also follows. And that's probably the most classic one. That's called the dictionary attack. And it's because your password is something in the dictionary. And guess what? The English dictionary really doesn't have that many words in it if you're a computer. Like any modern computer can memorize the dictionary and spit it back out at you 12 times before you can even say the word dictionary. And it's gone through the whole list and every variant of it.
Right.
In a split second. And
just like that. Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Hard. No, and that's what's, it's a brute force attack or a dictionary attack when the computer can just blah, 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 and it takes less than a second to crack it. So that's the first tip, I guess, of the day, is that don't think you're being sly with your baby's name and the birth year or the dog's name, because there's your one step removed is
pet's name and your birth year.
If I need to hack into something you have, then literally you've got all your stuff on Facebook on public. So I see your kids' names, I see your favorite sports teams, I see who you've liked. We don't have to be friends to see this most of the time. It's public.
I see who you married and when.
Who you married and when.
We
see your profile pictures. We can decide from that.
Yeah, your high school and your graduation year.
It's not difficult, y'all.
It's not difficult at all, especially if we get to know you that well.
Even a little bit.
Even a little bit of information. Yeah.
Just the tiniest bit of information. And I used to do in-home computer repair when I lived in Oregon. And I was one of the best they ever had at it. I was really good. And so I would show up to someone's house, and within 2 hours, I had to convince them, A, I'm not here to steal all your stuff. I don't care. B, I was in the most private room of their house usually, which is usually the computer was in like the bedroom, or a tucked away room, or an office where all their financial stuff was, or all their porn is, or something like that. And it was a great experience because it was decorated. Wherever the computer was, wherever they spent their time was, that was the room that had the most clearly chosen decor. And so if people ever didn't know what their password was, I'd say, I forgot the password to that account. All I had to do was look around the room most of the time, or I would ask, what's the dog's name? And then 9 times out of 10, like, oh, you're right, it is this. And I'm like, I don't know. I met you an hour ago.
Yeah.
And I guessed what your password
it easily.
was. And it wasn't that hard. Or I'd look up and I'd see like a dude, a picture of him fishing or something like that, which was really great because I met a guy whose last name was Fisher. His father was a fisherman. His grandfather was a fisherman.
Shut up.
Literally, that was his profession.
Shut up.
He lived his name, and it was one of the most amazing things. And he had like this
good for him
custom-made fishing rod and everything else with this huge story behind it. It was like 100 years old.
Wow.
And like this story about his great-grandfather fishing with this. And I'm like, what? And he had done the genealogy. This wasn't like urban legend or something that had been passed down. He had done the research and like could prove all this stuff. Like he is the reason that people are that their last name are Fisher is because of this guy's family.
That's hilarious.
It was wild. So what do you think his password was?
That's great.
That's something to do with bait and tackle, I guarantee you.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've been talking about that, and that's kind of the world that I live in. Like my other life is, we talk about a lot of movies, and I just talked about musicals, and it's kind of a very clearly delineated thing. I love doing theater and acting and being on stage. I got this movie that's coming out soon, and so that's definitely a different side of my life. And so the technical side and what pays the bills is cybersecurity for me. And it just comes out. Like I was helping you move into the new house recently, and there was a security sign outside in the yard that the previous owner
put out,
had left. And I said, so do you actually have this security company? And he's like, no, I don't. We don't.
Laughed over there from the last time.
I was like, okay, good. So, because you're never supposed to do that. There's your second tip of the day. It's like, don't advertise to people who want to break into your house
what system you're using. Yeah.
Because that alone makes
they can start doing their homework.
Oh my gosh, because it's not hard.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And honestly, a lot of people don't realize things like this just because they don't bother with it, and that's fine. And this is the point that I want to be clear about too, is that I always have to be very gentle with people's feelings when it comes to cybersecurity practices, because everyone feels like they should be ashamed, or they're a little bit ashamed. They are a little bit ashamed.
It's embarrassing, yeah.
They're embarrassed about their passwords, or how long it's been since they've changed the password, or when their identity does get stolen, they're like, oh, I'm such an idiot. I clearly
fell for this or whatever.
I should have done this, or I should have done that. The girl who cuts my hair, even, she had an experience like that, where she clicked on and bought something on Amazon, and it wasn't until like an hour later that it just kind of hit her. She's like, oh, I'm such an idiot. And she's one of the first ones who, she looks at everything like it's a scam. But, she was tired. She was tired.
Made a mistake.
And right. And I had to reassure her and say, look, I know trained professionals who have been in this business since it started, since cybersecurity has been a thing. And, late in the afternoon on a Friday after a long week, and you get a phishing email show up, and you click on it, and
you're not thinking. You don't think about it. That's right.
You're so tired, and you just want something to do, and it's instinctive, and you don't even, it can't even consider it. Some people who write these, I write these phishing emails a lot of times, so I can send them to the company as tests, and...
Oh, you're the one that sends it for the...
I am. I'm the one who sends out the corporate emails and says, click here, and tries to bait people into clicking on it. And the approach that I always take is not to make people feel ashamed, embarrassed, or chided, or that they've done anything wrong. And the way that I've always presented it to leadership is, look, it's not about catching people. It's about because a lot of the time, when I send those, I don't try to make them exceptionally difficult.
No, there's telltale signs that they should tell.
Like I put in grammatical errors, I put in all sorts of, hypertext and changes and everything else.
An email that doesn't matter, a return email address that looks off.
Should look off to this. We've all been through the phishing campaign stuff at this point, or the phishing training. Or
well, our work does this constantly. Yeah. Once a year, it'll come out there and. I think I felt it like the very first year because I didn't know there was such a thing. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I was able to, because you have to take the web-based course after you fail, and which tells all the telltale signs.
Right.
And ever since then, I've never failed it.
And a lot of that is, you got your first time people in the workplace. They've never been in a professional corporate setting before. They don't know what phishing emails are. They don't realize how valuable their computer information is. And so, we have to screen for things like people are on Instagram or Facebook and they're taking pictures of their workplace and their workplace computer. And there's so much information given away in those social media accounts.
Exactly.
You can't take pictures of your stuff.
Nope.
Because it makes it so easy. Anyway, that said, I never try to make people feel ashamed of their cybersecurity practices because I realize and recognize most people just ain't going to do it. That's fine. Like, not everybody's going to do it. Not everybody's going to change your password. There's just
nothing.
What's important to you, and most people, it isn't that important until after the fact.
Yeah.
And also, if the company gets hacked, then like most of the time they don't really care. Like the company lost a lot of money. What do I care? I'm underpaid and overworked anyway, so it doesn't.
There
matter.
You go. No sweat off my brow. Exactly.
Thing, and so. Now it depends on the company. If you're a medium to small business, like that can be ruinous. Like, you can be done after one phishing email, and all your stuff gets ransomwared, and you're finished because no one bothered to patch anything and no one updated anything, and you're good to go. But
companies need to be more careful.
It's a broad statement, and
all right, we won't go into that one then.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the next tip?
The next tip is probably we'll stick with passwords. Go back to passwords.
No, go ahead.
No, we'll just go back to passwords.
No, that's fine.
The acronyms. And I told you my idea for this is something I've done for the past dozen years or so, is creating a password, a strong password, because most people, and this is where I was leading with that last thing, most people aren't going to do it. The best thing you can do one of the best things, one of the top tips you can do for cybersecurity, improving your own cybersecurity, is purchasing and using a password manager like 1Password or LastPass or something like that. You've probably seen them advertised.
Okay.
However, most people aren't going to bother. And for me, it's indispensable. Like, I have to use it. And so most of my passwords, I've never even seen them. Like, I don't know what they are because it auto-generates them for me. And I don't have to know what it is. And that's the best password you can have.
Yeah.
You know, if
one that don't even...
If a terrorist holds a gun to your head and
like,
says,
look, I don't know.
What's the combination of the safe? Like, I really don't know.
I really don't know.
You know, I might get headshot, but, you know, that's what Ironman's for. And save me from terrorists.
Wow.
But the passwords, so when I tell people to create a password, I might drop in that thing about how the top passwords in the world are easily Googleable. You know, every year there's a password list that comes out, and like the word dragon is on there. If you're in England, I think
that was funny. You told me that dragon was the number one.
Yeah, dragon.
Dragon something, or just
checked.
dragon.
Dragon has dropped to number 16 in the world. It was in the top 10 not too long ago. If you live in England, like two of the top 10 passwords are Liverpool and Liverpool 1 because of the football team.
Wow.
Soccer, it's over there. So it depends on where you are geographically. Yeah. If you're in New Orleans and you're trying to hack passwords, the Saints are going to be in there a lot. You know, Louisiana,
which is understandable.
Any major sports team, like you were just talking about. Anyway, so with passwords, typically what I would do is you come up with a phrase that you can say to yourself over and over, which is a sentence, full-on phrase that is a goal, a positive goal that you can achieve, a realistic positive goal in your life. So when I first started doing this, I wanted to buy a new car. And so my password for about a year on a few things was capital I, W, the number 2, BANCN, and then whatever the year was. Because it was, I want to buy a new car in this month, this year. And then exclamation point, because I didn't know any better at the time. But the point is that whenever I would achieve the goal, I would change my password. And every single time I have to use it, I'm forced to say it in my head to myself.
Gotcha.
That I am, what your goal is. I have this goal in mind, something that I really want to achieve. And that's a good idea. And whatever I'm typing this password in, is this bringing me closer to my goal or farther away from it? Like, what is happening? Every time I'm using a password on something, am I getting closer or farther away? And do I really want it? And it can force you to self-evaluate, you know, your goals and things like that. But I've used that every single time, ever since, that sort of thing. I use a password manager now, but my top passwords, my most trusted and sacred ones that I don't have written down anywhere, are huge long phrases that are several words, like minimum 13 characters, you know, in every password, minimum. And then that phrase with, you know, letters and numbers thrown in, but like it's always something that I either want to do or that I want to achieve,
a goal,
or, you know, things like that are positive goals. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the number one thing, and that's usually pretty easy for people to do. I've found, is you think about something like, what is a goal you have for 2022? This is fairly new year still.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just thinking mine was similar. I also, what I tell my folks is, you can have phrases and whatnot, but also make your E a 3, make your O a 0, make your L the exclamation point. You know, I mean, switch it up. You can still have your child or whatnot, but for goodness sake, please just switch it up. You know, make the L a 1. I don't know. You know, just like
something.
Switch it up. Do not capitalize the first one. Capitalize something else in the middle, and you know.
And that is at least one step.
Something
in the right
they
direction.
can. Yeah,
right. That's at least one step. I will tell you.
That's the very least that I let them.
When it comes up to against the computer though, that's step 2. Like step 1 is dragon and Liverpool. And exclamation point at the end, capital letter at the beginning.
Right.
Step 2 is literally it tries every single word in the dictionary, and the next nanosecond, but with every 3 as an E, you know, and every A as an at symbol, and things like that. Like that's literally the second thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that really doesn't help anymore.
Okay.
Much at all.
Okay.
but it does get people going in the right direction.
Okay.
Because it's a practiced skill. A lot of people just don't have the habit of it. So
right.
Do you have a goal in 2022 though? Did you make any New Year's resolutions this year?
Yeah, but I broke it. Don't watch Eternals again. Ever.
So that breaks one of the rules of it being a positive goal. You don't want to make yourself angry and type in "I want to never watch Eternals. I hate myself," or and saying the first letter of that phrase every single time.
I don't know.
Probably.
Well, maybe walk without rhythm, so I won't attract the worm.
Well, what?
I'm sorry. Your dad would get that joke. It's a Dune joke. Is that the
Dune joke?
That's a Dune joke.
Wow.
But anyway, continue though.
No,
this is interesting.
I love that. That's fantastic. So goals specific, and then top 10 passwords I have on there. ADT sign in the front window, and part of that is you can't forget the physical security of it all. So like the ADT in the front. But another thing that you can do is don't grease the hinges of your gate or your front door or your back door. Like if the door squeaks, let it squeak. Like you want that door to go. If it opens at 3 o'clock in the morning and it has a very distinctive creaking sound, A, if your kids are sneaking out, you want to know. And B, if someone's sneaking in, you want to know. And especially if it's late at night or you can't see what's going on. So you want your entrances and your exits to make noise if you don't have like video surveillance or whatever. But that's typically something that will deter people from continuing to break into the house. Any kind of really loud, distinctive noise and that kind of thing. Aside, short of an alarm system or something like that. And a lot of businesses, I didn't realize this until I was actually studying it for cybersecurity, but a lot of businesses, do you know those really like short, green, spiky bushes? They're like holly bushes almost.
Yeah.
Very painful, like if you kind of
bump into them, they're prickly.
They plant those on purpose on the first floor near all the windows. And entrances that are so that they're not easily accessible. So basically, they're forcing you to go towards the entrances where cameras are installed, where the alarms are installed. So probably if you work at any major corporation and you look at the first floor near the windows, there will be some very uncomfortable shrubbery underneath the windows.
In their weak spot.
It's a weak spot, right? And so that way, burglars aren't going to try to sneak through the bushes, kind of thing. And so even things like that, your gardening can be a security measure that you can use. Yeah,
interesting.
And so you just things like that are great. And
that's really cool. That's something you don't think about.
Something else that people don't really think about is and this is the time of year we probably should be doing it, and this podcast might actually air at the exact right time, is to file your taxes early. And the reason I say that is because
check, I do that.
Do you know why, or do you do that because of financial reasons?
I do that because I want to get it out of the way and done with it.
Exactly, but most
first week in February,
most people wait until the
most people wait till the
right.
My dad waits till April 15th at 8 o'clock.
Do you know why you shouldn't do that?
Why?
Because if your identity gets stolen, do you know what that entails? Really, like everybody's heard that phrase, but what does it really mean? And that diverts into my biggest pet peeve is when people tell me, "Oh, I've got nothing really to hide. I've got nothing really to steal. I've got $4 in my bank account."
Yeah, but you got
that's
your taxes.
Fine, but you've also got a social security number. You have a credit score, whether or not it's good or bad.
Yeah, they're going to take
You've got it, and you're telling me you really don't care if people use your information to commit tax fraud? Mm-hmm. You don't care if somebody files your taxes for you with all of your information and submits all these crazy returns, and then they file a $5,000 credit return, and then you get audited the next year, or in a few months, or you go to file your taxes in the second week of April, and it says error, your file
has already been completed.
Number's already been filed, and here's your tax return. Here's a copy of it for you, and you're like, wait a minute.
That's not me.
I didn't do my taxes, and somebody else got $6,000 in your name, and now the IRS is coming to your door. And
exactly.
Saying, so what happened here? And now, thankfully, that's becoming so common. I say thankfully. This is the silver lining. The IRS realizes what's happened to every year, because this happens every year to people, and their taxes get filed for them. And, with a bunch of bogus returns and income returns that they just clearly didn't have and they can't prove because they never existed.
Right.
And then once the IRS understands, they're like, oh, okay, we see what happened. You got screwed.
Yeah.
And so they're a bit more understanding about what happened, at least, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're totally off the hook, too.
Right.
So, because it's your responsibility.
Right.
And
there's just a lot more than what people think is at stake.
Exactly.
Right.
And, and then you have to go through all the rigmarole for it. That's a good word. Rigmarole. But like Visa and MasterCard and people like that, they'll give you your money back if you have credit card fraud.
Right.
But what you don't realize is a lot of times if it's over a certain dollar amount, you got to go to the bank, you got to fill out a form, you got to sit in line.
Yeah.
There's a whole big list of
lot of paperwork.
There's a lot of paperwork.
A
lot of times. So it's just there's a whole lot more on the line than just your I got nothing to hide nonsense. Yeah, right. You kind of do have something to hide. You kind of don't want, because that's how it works. Virtually every American's social security number is for sale on the dark web. Like, you can purchase it for a few bucks, every single one of them. So it's not a big mystery what your social security number is. It's not hard to get. The combination of your social security number with your address and your Facebook picture and all of that, and the information we were talking about to discern your passwords, and it's just how easy people make it and just give away so much information. Just that's what people use on the dark web to commit crime, like to buy drugs with. They use your name and your social and your address and your employer and your dog's name and all that other stuff. Like, they use that to commit crime, and it's not a pretty world. So secure your stuff. Like, don't make it easier.
Secure it
for them to.
That's right.
To do it.
Make them work for it. Put up them bushes on your social media.
Put up them social media bushes.
Social media bushes.
Yeah, I've gone through. I've curated all of my social media stuff. Like, it's onerous to use a Scrabble word for Facebook to go back and delete and remove a lot of your posts and old photos and everything. They make it really hard to do that. It took a long time. It took several hours for me to go back and take it away. But I mean, part of it is all right. It's
move on.
It's getting giggly.
Move on.
Up in here.
That's fine. That's fine. Right. I mean, someone needs to tell Alec Baldwin that it's hard to remove that stuff, man. How do I get rid of these text messages?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. That joke won't even be around in a year. But anyway.
Oh my gosh. All right.
I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean, though.
The only other thing I want to say to people when it comes to security is, because really people are like, "What can I do?" And when I was talking to my hairdresser the other day about that, when she was talking about all the stuff, she says, "What do I do? What do I do?" And she had already changed her passwords. She had already done a lot of stuff and everything else. I said, "But
did you get out of the chair, hold out your hand, and say, 'Come with me if you want to live'?"
Right? Exactly. and here's the biggest tip I think I could give anybody that people will actually do. Is change your email password. Most people have a Gmail account, most people in the United States, and most people's email account is pretty simplistic because you have to be able to remember it.
Yeah.
Or it's saved in your browser, which is also a horrible mistake.
Don't do it.
So don't do that.
Don't do it.
Just make your email password one you have to type in and make it your goal. Mm-hmm. Here's the reason it needs to be the big secure one that you remember, and that is unique, especially unique, because password reuse is what hackers depend on. Mm-hmm. And if you are using the same password for everything, regardless of how good that password is, if you're reusing it, if it gets stolen on one site, just one, if you use it as your Brookshire's login card, your Walmart login, and Walmart has a security breach, then by no fault of your own, that same password is on the internet.
Right.
And that's the first thing they do. Is it's called password reuse. It's spraying the password on every site, and this is also done in just a few moments. Like, this is automated by hacker tools. It goes through Instagram, Facebook, bank accounts, Bank of America. It hits all the major banks, It plays the statistics. It plays the odds. What are the odds that this person who lives in this part of the country and this zip code has these things? And they're usually pretty high. And it just sprays that password into every single one of them. And if it's already been lost once and you reused it, then you're done, like you're toast, and with all of them. However, the thing with unique passwords is that's why they're hard to remember. But if you're just going to change one, if you're just going to do one thing, make sure your email account password is the most secure. Why? Because when everything else hits that two-factor authentication, or when everything else wants to reset your password, or when you log into a site that you use once a year, or it forces you to change it and you get really annoyed and you're like, I got to change my password. What does it do? Click on the Forgot Password button. And what does that do? Sends an email to you and says, click here and we'll reset your password for you. So if I have access to your email,
I can click there.
I can click that Forgot My Password button over and over and send myself 100 emails that forgot my password.
And get the one I want.
That level of security is not standardized yet. So there are a lot of faux pas in cybersecurity that companies can get fined big, big, big money for if their web servers don't meet a certain standard. If it's easy to put a code injection into your website and just like copy paste a code and just boom and it takes over a server, not only is your company hosed and you lose money, but you can be fined because you didn't secure your stuff to a very basic level. And so companies have a responsibility. Literally, you can get fined tons and tons of money just from not securing your stuff. But the forgot password thing is not quite as standardized, and it's not as enforced because it's too hard to enforce it. So there are a ton of websites that you have passwords for that have the worst forgot password. Like they will, if you click forgot password, their response is, okay, we will send it to you in an email in plain text.
So you can go ahead and click the link.
Just click this
without
link
any verification.
And we will email it to you. First
that
of all,
easy.
They should never even have your password in plain text. They should never be able to see it. 2, they're sending it to you unencrypted in an email. The list goes on. So the point is that if you're going to just change one positive phrase, one good thing, one goal you want to accomplish, just think of something really good. Like, I don't know, I really want there to be no more COVID and I want to get married next year. Something like that. And just IW, the number 2, really hope, RH, you just take the first letter and go through it. And then it's a nonsensical, non-dictionary string of characters and numbers and letters. So it meets all the criteria that everybody wants. You're reinforcing something positive that you want in your life. And then you're securing essentially everything a little bit better by keeping your email password secure. And if you just do that one thing, it makes it annoying enough for hackers and attackers and people who want to steal your identity. It's just like the goal is you have to treat everything as if it's already been compromised. Everything's been hacked already. It already has. It's just a matter of if somebody who's using it for malicious reasons, are they going to go to the effort to dig any farther? So if you can make your stuff just annoying enough so that they have to reach a little higher for the grapes,
you've done your job.
That's all. They will move on.
Good.
Because there is so much low-hanging fruit out there and millions of dollars to be made off of it. And you see it all the time with these people who get arrested and had however many millions of dollars or whatever. It's because it's so easy. And we make it easy for them most of the time. And it's just, man, it's disappointing. But I really don't want my friends to get into car accidents to realize how dangerous cars can be. And same with cybersecurity. Like, it really is so dangerous, and it can really cause some serious damage. And if you want to get patriotic about it, there's a real war going on between different countries right now. And cyber espionage is a big deal, and it costs lots and lots of money. And we may not ever, hopefully, go to a full-on physical World War III DEFCON 1 situation. But in our lifetime, at least I hope not. But I guarantee you there's a very strategic war being fought right now as we're recording this and as you're listening to this, because there are millions of dollars at stake all the time, and it's happening left and right. And then the power grids being sabotaged, and people seeing how easy it is to break into water treatment plants and like the infrastructure and everything else.
Right.
Like the risks are real, and so
I think
don't just play it off as if it's not going to happen to you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm begging people to do. You know?
That's good advice. It's good advice. Good tips.
Might be a little dry for our typical Saturdays.
I'm going to ask people here in the chat now. This time, do you have a cybersecurity question for Benjamin?
Yeah, I would love to answer them. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. Benjamin will be checking when this post later on YouTube, and he could answer that. Or if we get a lot of them, maybe we'll do another one.
Do you remember the Saturday Night Live skit with the IT computer guy where it's like he tries to help him for a second and he's just like, move over, and he's like, he does it himself, you know. I think it was Jimmy Fallon or something like that. He's like, he tries to help me. I have a secure computer question, Mr. IT help desk guy. He says, well, you're going to do this, or I'll just move over, and like shoves him out of the chair. And so that reputation is well earned among IT guys and cybersecurity guys, because there's a lot of know-it-alls out there, and that's sometimes our only bag in the tricks. That's the only trick in the bag we've got.
Yeah, but hey,
absolutely not. Like I don't. I never make anybody embarrassed or feel stupid about it because it's just hard.
There's not a stupid question because the thing is, no one knows about this. A lot of people don't.
You don't have to know about it most of the time.
And so
because I'm doing my job and I'm protecting you, whether you know it or not, I am Superman.
Taylor, call this man. All right, folks. We'll see you next time.
Saturday
morning.
Samoflange.